There's nothing more dangerous than a 2-0 series lead, except for a 3-0 series lead. The Stars, Capitals, Lightning, and the Islanders find themselves in that very position. But who's most likely to get swept? You like numbers? Clearly we think so. That's why they're in every single podcast title, including alongside faces that express both shock and awe. We've returned with 8 stats that tell you the story of each series, and warning, they may shock you, or put you into a further state of awe. And yes, I'm proving to Corwin that not only can you wave a towel, but you can make sound at the same time.
Yeah, but your energy level dropped significantly.
That was bar none the worst thing I have ever heard you have. I'm not just saying this because of the other comments. If I was there when you said that, I would have vehemently opposed you in it. You don't like the towels? Why?
So it's so funny that like Canucks fans are so mad about this, as if I was like
they should be in that case.
Okay, one,
when you brought it up is why that happened.
Well, no, one, I knew about the history of your team. That's why I brought it up for the Canucks segment.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't like this, they're acting like it's this mystery that I was like, oh, I stumbled upon mentioning it during your section that I don't like the towels. And it has nothing to do with your history of it. That's fine. It's purely a thing where when I'm at a game, I genuinely believe, and I've had other people kind of like talk about this and realize it once they go to a game after and think about it, that there are times at games where when you're swinging your towel, it just is like weirdly quiet, and I just don't like it. I just think it's better. Obviously, you can talk at the same time as waving your arm.
The way you said it made it seem like you weren't so sure.
No, I'm just saying
sound could project at the same time as you're waving.
But I think like people, like in terms of like yelling and whatever, like they're not just gonna scream for 30 seconds straight. Like there's a limit to that, and I think clapping and like things like that will extend the noise and make it louder and longer. And then but especially I just think that it builds this weird thing where like they'll put something on the Jumbotron and be like, towel time, and then like everybody, it's just like
okay, well, now that I've unfairly represented your argument and you've also had a chance to defend yourself, I will say this. I this is not fake. I genuinely love the towels. I think, and trust me,
I even hated it when you were doing it. I was like,
yeah. Well, I mean, you also knew it was coming. So,
I didn't know it was coming.
No, I said know what was coming, like after that.
Oh.
You knew we were bringing it up.
No, but I'm happy.
One of the best intros of all time.
I will.
Excellent intro, by the way.
Yeah,
thank you.
Welcome back.
Best of all time.
It's a little crazy. But I was going to say, real anecdote, when I saw they added the towels to the NHL game, because they added it where, in the playoffs, like suddenly the fans would have it. Oh, I ran out and bought that edition. Ran out. I didn't own that year. I think it was NHL 10. That might have been the first game. You know, don't quote me on that, but check it out. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God. This is part of it.
That is ridiculous decision making.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was a young lad.
I feel like the sports games got me with things like that when I was younger too, where it was like, oh, the mascots you can play as them now. Hell yeah.
It's just
signing
more
up
official.
for that. Exactly.
More official.
They've got them in the game now.
I love it. Keep doing it, Canucks fans. And now I'm sure you're not bothered that they are still doing it.
Yeah, and like I get why people were mad about it, because they're like, stop trying to take this away from us. Like, it's guys, you're gonna do it.
No
like,
one's
I'm not
taking it away.
I have very little power. Like,
of course. Yeah, no. that times 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like I think like things like that, especially if it's a unique thing, is definitely, I understand rallying behind that and like getting excited about it. But you have to understand that like every single team does this now, and it's like
you know, got a real sound problem, by the way. I think the Leafs genuinely do a little bit compared to.
I mean, when you
teams,
got Joe Bowen lighting you up a bit, like, it's not good.
I don't mean just like I'm not even doing the lazy like, oh, you know, all the platinum seat people or anything like that. I just mean, I don't know if it's like a sound thing on the broadcast, but we've all been watching a few series just to kind of focus in our efforts. I've been watching the Rangers series as well as the Islanders series. Keep pointing there like there's the Rangers jersey. Sorry, Madison Square Garden.
Rangers.
That place is buzzing.
Oh, yeah.
Like during playoff games.
Winnipeg?
It is loud. Winnipeg, it is loud. The Canucks game, it was loud.
So, I don't know, and like, again, I don't think this is necessarily reflective of all of them and whatever. Like, I think, obviously, there's certain ones that'll be really excited to be back. That kind of, like, builds some momentum into the excitement of fans and all that. I think one of the biggest problems for the Leafs is how nervous they are. Like
I
it's
was
that
just gonna say that.
it's that
That's a
like
fair
so
point.
because everything always feels like the sky is falling in Toronto for hockey, especially because of like, oh, like of course this is gonna happen, of course, and like when they're losing, it just turns into this thing where like, and I've been there where you're kind of like, then you're like, oh, you kind of like aren't ready to cheer because you're so nervous about what could happen that, and I know like because like Joe Bowen's tweet was all like, you have to like force the team out with your noise, you know? It's like you're the one motivating them, and it's like, yeah, it's a two-way street. Like, and like I get it. I've been at Scotiabank Arena when it is very loud. I have also been there when it is very quiet, and I agree. Like, I also think they're like, as anywhere, you'll get a very different crowd on a Wednesday night than you will on a Saturday night, and then, but yeah, no, I think they're definitely quiet when
The nervous energy is a good point.
Yeah, when it's a nervous game,
Especially
for
like
sure.
the 2-2 goal, and then they score right after. It's just
You've
like,
seen
well,
this
that's
before.
the most Leafs
You've
thing
been
that
here
ever
before.
happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like, okay, what's next? Like,
Not to go too armchair psychologist, because it's funny, and I take your point, and that actually seems to like, oh yeah, okay, there's a lot of sense to that, but I think that's probably where other fan bases are even more like, okay, because there's also a lot of like bravado with your like the fan base, obviously, of where like there's a lot of certainty that this year is different, which every single fan base has.
Yeah,
but when
is
you
that not
combine
the most
that,
transparent thing ever, that's clearly
I'm just
people
saying
being like,
it sounds funnier than when you have someone who's like, hey man, we're not so sure how things are gonna go. It's like, that's not what the fan base looks and sounds like most of the time.
So no, but I get what you mean, but that's not necessarily the way I'm trying to describe it. I think more that like, this is gonna sound annoying, but like the well, no, I just think a lot of the people in Toronto like live and die with this more than than I think some other fan bases in terms of
I
like,
take my back.
no, I'm not saying all fan bases. I think there's tons that are like die hard towards that team, but I do think that there's like a lot of like. I'm going to say this. New York as a city is less invested in the Rangers than Toronto is in the Leafs.
This is where I'm going to combat you, because I don't entirely disagree with parts of what you're saying. I actually think, from my times in New York and from knowing people who live there, I think it's more like it's a massive city where there are very dedicated Rangers fans who they care way more about the Rangers than they would about the Knicks or about the Yankees or whomever. And there's enough of them that it's like, this is still a very sizable fan base, and these are the people that are going to be representing them on screen, in the seats, online, and they'll feel just as fervent, I think, as your hardcore Leafs fans.
But I don't think that they are as... You said they are the ones representing them in the seats online all the time. I don't think seats is where they're representing as much.
Perhaps,
because I do
it's
think
expensive.
Exactly. And well, I think it's the same thing as Toronto. Like in these big cities, there's a lot of corporate seats. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, playoff game, yeah, let's go for fun. And like I think it's probably, I'm not saying there's massive Rangers fans out there. They're a massive fan base. They're a massive franchise.
It's an original 16.
Of course.
They deserve the same level of respect as any.
Yeah, but I think the casual fan in New York has an easier time being just like blissfully excited. And
but wait, aren't we trying to say about like the atmosphere in the games though? So why are they louder then?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The nerves is that I think
we're
probably talking about it too long, but
it's okay though. It's okay. I enjoyed the conversation, and I always enjoy taking a slice. You, especially to get back in here. But it's great to be back, guys.
Hell yeah.
Great to be back.
Got rid of that other loser too.
Wow. Thomas, that's rude. Just kidding. On both fronts. Thomas and Jesse will be back at some point.
Of course.
We'll be rotating in
Jesse's
and out
at
of
a bachelor party. Tom
in
Vegas. Yeah.
His favorite place with his favorite team.
Exactly.
it's ironic that he hates that place so much and
No,
around
team.
playoff
He doesn't-
time.
yeah, he doesn't hate the
Doesn't
place.
hate the
No,
place.
hates the team, but
Yeah.
always ends up there around playoff time. And I think he said he's probably going to go to a game or try to.
Second
so.
year running? Is
Yeah.
it that he's
Yeah.
there when they're in the
like
playoffs?
always.
Last year worked
It's
out
twice.
with Winnipeg being always is twice. Last year
Yeah.
worked out with Winnipeg being their first round opponent.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
He could be there for the sweep.
he could be. Yeah.
We'll get to that at some
wild.
point. But before we get to that, each and every one of us, we're all kind of focused in on a few different series. I think you guys are probably watching every series more than I am. I will say that off the hop. I've been watching 2 series because, hey, it's only so much free time you have in your life. But we're going to go into 8 stats. Insane, crazy. I don't know what you're typing into the title of this thing, but
it's I think it's a mind melting stat.
Ooh, I was gonna say blowing, but I like mind melting. I like the double M.
So either way, I like this because it's going to be a little bit of a lesson for me as well, because you guys are going to get me caught up on some of these series, because the whole point of each stat is that it should, to some degree, summarize what we're seeing in each series. So, Luca, without further ado, why don't you start us off, pal? You can start any way you would like.
I'm going to start with the series that I'm most invested in, and that's Winnipeg, Colorado. And if you watch the live stream with me and Jesse, he kind of talked about this after the game. We summarized it. Connor Hellebuyck is going to be a 2-time Vezina winner when it's all said and done this season. But his last 6 playoff starts, .876 save percentage. 7 of his last 11 playoff starts, he's allowed 4 or more goals. The numbers going back to that Montreal series in 2021, I believe, when they lost to Montreal, got swept after he was incredible against the Oilers. Playoff numbers have not looked pretty for Connor Hellebuyck. And maybe this is a Jets defense thing as well, kind of coupled into that. 2 games into it, you score 4+ on the road against them twice, and now you're going home with last change and the altitude, and the Avs have been the best home team all year.
Can I ask you something on this point? Because I did watch Game 1 of your series.
Yeah.
And me and you already actually talked about this at some point, but even though he let in a bunch of goals, it's kind of funny how goaltending works in the playoffs, where sure, obviously, you want to keep more out of your own net, and you're going to be looking at some save percentages, but less so than during the regular season. Because if you make the saves when it feels like you need them, which he did in Game 1,
he did.
and I think a lot of people would still say he was very much an asset for them in that game, unlike Georgiev, and he was still a difference maker in that point. You almost don't care about save percentage, no? Because he's still been doing his job, and they won that first game.
I was going to say, Jesse felt really harshly about his play in the first game that he allowed 6. I felt the other way, where it was like, if you swapped Georgiev and Hellebuyck in that game, the Avs would have won 9-2.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, because his numbers weren't even that terrible in the first game, because Colorado had so many shots. It was pretty outrageous. So.
The second game, I'm kind of like, if there's a goal you want back, it's obviously the Parise one where he kind of mismanages the puck. The Wood one off the draw is kind of a fast play that just happens. The Manson breakaway it's a breakaway. That's a tough save. And then the other one's a tipped shot from the point. Those are always difficult to stop as goalies. So I get where it's like, this kind of has become a trend, though, with him in the playoffs recently, where he just hasn't been that same Vezina caliber goalie. I don't know exactly what the problem is, or if there's if you can pinpoint what it is, but he's got to be better and steal a couple games for them.
It's probably that goaltending is hard.
It's random and it's hard for sure.
Anytime I watch any game and you're just like, oh man, they should have had that. You also kind of quickly remember the good saves that they have, and you're it's just a chaotic position where while everyone else is, playing something that's more like, okay, well, you get 3 out of 10 right in your job, it'll probably bounce out.
Yeah.
Versus you're like a golfer where a single bad shot could ruin your entire round, and it's like that on every single play. The
toughest part for Winnipeg, though, is how much they rely on him, right? He's their best player.
Yes.
And so when he's not at his best, you see what kind of happens.
Still good team defense, though, as well. Not that it's
No, still
they're a good team overall.
Yes.
I feel like you're not giving Colorado enough credit. I was just think Colorado is just an unbelievable team.
They've not like that?
I don't think he really likes them.
Should I not have put that jersey on there?
They've had a couple of bad draws, Winnipeg, recently, of playing good teams as well, which is part of it.
This guy's about to mouth off.
You shouldn't have put the worst jersey they've ever had up there. I would say
that's a crazy take.
I love it.
That's the worst jersey they've ever had?
No. The Stadium Series ones have been worse.
I like
the one that looks like a Coors Light can.
I hated that
one. I didn't mind that one.
Yeah,
it's aged a little better but I still think that one's worse than this one. I love this one. This one's so cool.
It's fine.
It's a cool one.
I just like the original Rockies colors more than the only thing is I like the logo. I don't think they nailed what the colors should be for it.
That's fair.
All right, you're next.
Next, I will go with what stat do I want to say first? Let's go Vancouver and Nashville. Vancouver is 0 for 6 on the power play in this series against a team that was bottom 10 in penalty kill for the whole year. I just think that is, I know there's a lot of talk about Thatcher Demko and Casey DeSmith and we're finished because we don't have Thatcher Demko. But I don't think that's really like the main reason you're losing, right? Like it's sorry. They're
Tied.
Yeah, it's fine.
You've lost one game.
Lost
Yeah,
one game.
sure.
I know, but it feels a bit like people are like really panicking in Vancouver, and I don't think it's that serious. I still think, like, in my opinion, I still think they'll win that series. And I just think they have to be significantly better on the power play. The one thing is, like, it is I know kind of like a thing being thrown around of like, is Elias Pettersson hurt right now? Because like and I don't know if it's confidence, because like confidence does a lot for these things sometimes, but he has had like a slower end to the season, and he's like particularly off in this series. And obviously like the empty netter thing was the one that people have really honed in on. But overall, they just gotta like, the power play just needs to get some pucks on net. Like we were talking, I think they've had five shots on net on all six out of all 6 power plays. That's less than a shot per power play. That's horrible. Like, just put it on net at this point. And like especially when you've got such a good like power play quarterback in Quinn Hughes, where you should just have him. I mean, I'm sure that's part of the problem, is that maybe they're going to him more, and it's just kind of that there's a lot of traffic in front.
A lot of traffic, because the Predators have been shot blocking like crazy.
Crazy.
I mean, that's also part of it for them too. You're facing a team that's like playing like what you'd think of as like playoff hockey, of like die on every single play.
I still have a ton of faith in them. I think they're
still taking
team.
it in your mind.
In my mind, yeah. I think I would still pick like probably Vancouver in 6, I think. But like, it's definitely wasn't great for them to see Saros have a pretty good game. Because I mean, like, even during the year, it's funny because Casey DeSmith was, I think, like, is a significant downgrade on Thatcher Demko, but I actually think
a lot of people are
yes,
as well.
Yeah, I think most people are pretty confident, and like, it's a backup goalie. What do you want? But I actually feel like Casey DeSmith had a pretty similar year to UC Saros. I know in like goals saved above expected and stuff, they're very similar, and it's so like, even I know a couple people sent me messages like, you cursed our goalie, because in the last one, my overreaction was like, I think you guys have the advantage in net.
And then he was just out.
Yeah, out. And like so mysteriously too. That
he's traveling with the team to Nashville, but apparently he's kind of like week to week. So who the heck knows?
Yeah. But he'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Keep waving your towels.
Yeah. Should I dress it again?
No.
So
I honestly thought that your stat was going to be something like
too many towels.
Per
19,000 towels. Too many. Yeah. All right. Well, my stat is I've been watching the New York series, Islanders, as well as the Rangers. This one's going to come from the Rangers series. 1 shot on net, no points for Ovi. Now, he's not playing like his former self because he's not his former self. And obviously, that's been talked about all year long, just how he struggled at the beginning of the year. And obviously, he found some of that form at the end and was kind of finding his shot and scoring.
Hold up. I think we've already talked too much about the Washington Capitals, okay? We're actually only
They played well in the second game. I will say, they gave it that was like a good turnaround when the second game was like, this is competitive, and I still, the whole time, I was like, yeah, the Rangers probably still have this, but like, no, they gave them a fight, and they had their opportunities where, honestly, they could have stole one there.
I know.
They stole one.
And like, I do feel, I was more saying it because I feel bad, because we have been very dismissive of the Capitals, and I know if you're a Capitals fan, like, you probably want to hear a little bit about your team, not just like, they're bad. But I think the disappointing thing for them is that I feel like Lindgren hasn't been very good, and you were kind of hoping that he could be a bit of a factor.
You need him to be a factor.
Yeah.
There's two, like,
because he was so good. Like he was like such an integral part to them making the playoffs at all, right?
Yeah.
But
as much as like obviously it's always about team talk in hockey, and you need all 4 lines and whatever. Like the Capitals are one of the teams where they're in a situation where it's like no. Like you need 2 guys in specific to hit their marks. It's Lindgren and it's Ovi, and with Ovi not having like 1 shot.
One shot is wild.
It's not just on him. Like I get it. Like
for sure.
Dude's lost a step because he's 40 and he's not going to be able to get a little bit of extra separation. But they've also just locked him down and played him well. So that's the real concern. If you're like a Capitals fan, at least you're going home at this point. Maybe something kind of changes. But the Rangers are just playing him well, and they can somehow, stay out of the penalty box. Like that's where he's going to be getting any opportunities, it feels like. Like 5-on-5, not a wash, but it feels a lot less likely than usual. So,
but even that, like, I just think they have a really tough matchup because, like, again, that's Washington kind of would hope for some power play stuff, and the Rangers are a very good penalty
top
killing
3
team.
in both,
Exactly,
kill and in their own power play. Yeah.
So it's kind of just like, it's a tough matchup, and I think that's part of why maybe I've been so dismissive of the Capitals. It's not like, I do think they're not a great team in terms of when we're talking about the playoffs, but I think it's especially that they've just have drawn such a tough matchup in the East that, like, I kind of look at, like, the more I watch the playoffs, I feel like the Rangers could be like the team to beat in the East currently, which, like, isn't a crazy thing to say. They won the President's Trophy,
of course,
but I don't know.
No, it's like tough if you're a Capitals fan, because, like, I get that you'd also have a lot of pride heading in, because I get it, their one goal win stat, where it's like they didn't lose a single game, it was by one, and sure, you can make too much out of that, but it still means that you're competitive, and they're competitive at the end, which didn't work out as well for another team, kind of similarly, unfortunately, in the Metro, which was hanging their hat on, like, hey, we were hot at the right time, and that's where everyone going in has all this enthusiasm. But still, they played super well in the second game. It's just, if you're going to have a chance in a series against the President's Trophy winners, if you have anywhere close to a shot to win a game, you have to win those games, and Ovi has to be that guy. And I don't know, like, if they're going to have that chance, because, he's 40, and we're kind of starting to see what it looks like. So hopefully they are, and hopefully the series still continues to be fun. But also the reffing, which I will come back to for the Don't Think Just Tweet, was, I don't even care about reffing most of the time, was horrendously bad in that Rangers game. It was, like, so bad. At one point, they just stopped calling things that were so blatant. They do this, but then over-calling on certain ones where you're like, well, why this?
You just want consistency is all you're looking
There's
for.
never any in the playoffs. It's a disaster.
All right, Luca.
Zebras. Okay, I got 2 more stats. I think I'll go Oilers-Kings for this one. And this one's tied 1-1 after a nice Kopitar OT winner. Box office. Where's our...
It's up there.
Praise,
box office.
Praise Anze Kopitar. But this one's kind of on Stuart Skinner for the second year in a row. So the number is negative 9.4. That's his goals saved above expected in his playoff career. Only Georgiev worse this year, and only 2 goalies last year in their run had a worse goal saved above expected. So... he just, as good as, like, a bounce back of a year he had, he's not been good. Not good enough, anyway. And I went to, like, kind of look back on Money Puck of just, like, how teams have fared that go far. Because I think we all think the Oilers can go far with McDavid and with all these guys. The Avs are the only team other than the 08-09 Penguins, and that's when the tracking kind of stops.
Should bring up the Avs again.
That they won the Cup with a goalie with a negative goals saved above expected differential. So there's only 2 teams that have ever won the Cup with it, 3 teams that have made it to the Cup final with it. The other team was the Broder Devils, and his number was negative 0.1. So he was
pretty
even.
easy.
He was exactly. So, like, I think we all love the Oilers, but this is how you lose, right? Like, this is what we've talked about with them. Their back end hasn't been outstanding. Like, they've allowed some high danger chances, whatever, but, like, if Stuart Skinner is going to be leaking,
can't
like
let
this,
a guy bat the puck out of the air.
That was sick.
That was wild,
I'm joking
right?
because that was unbelievable.
exactly.
Kempe, the Oiler killer, that was amazing.
Yeah, I think, like, if the Oilers are going to win the Cup, like, he's obviously got to be better, and that's what I think we all kind of have seen from this team. But we've always said that goaltending and defense has been the thing that they've kind of, I don't want to say neglected because I think he had a good season, but outside of Bouchard and Ekholm, like, their defense I don't think is anything to write home about. So these are the things that continually sink them. And I will say, like, looking at some of the numbers too, like, Leon Draisaitl's line right now is getting caved in, and the Kopitar-Byfield line has been unbelievable for LA at 5-on-5. They've been so good, and Byfield in particular has been, like, outstanding. So,
which is so cool to see. I'm so
amazing
excited for him.
For 21-year-old player.
Him and Lafreniere.
Exactly. That draft class looking nice in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That tip on the, like, I know after the game, I think he said I was just trying to avoid an icing, but the fact that, like, he was able to, on a on a wrist shot coming at him like that to tip that into the middle of the ice for Kopitar.
Yeah.
Unreal play.
it's
but
crazy.
but yeah, this is more an Oilers thing because I think we think they're the more talented team in this series, but man, oh man, Stuart Skinner has looked not great so far.
Yeah, I'd still be again. It's,
think
it's
you're
one of those
still
things
confident.
where it's like it's obviously we're saying all these and it's 2 games in and like
Yeah.
I guess small sample size is literally used for statistics and 2 games is like it'll be fine.
Well, the whole point of it is like a stat that currently sums up the way things are, not the
Yeah.
way things it's
Are gonna go.
end and
Yeah.
yes, go. But,
Yeah.
Because I think if you watch this series, it's like, wow, Edmonton they look great. McDavid's
Yep.
flying, Hyman's scoring hat tricks. Like they are so good offensively, and
Yeah.
it's like, what can sink
they
this
got
team?
some secondary scoring in the last game as well.
Yeah,
still, so,
Holloway and yeah,
2 goals from Holloway.
yeah.
that's what you want, right? But when
They got one from Kulak too. Is that
yeah, one
it's
from,
like,
he
whoa.
looked so upset about scoring. He just had no smile on his face.
All right. Well, does this bring us to the Leafs and the Bruins, or are you going somewhere else first?
I'll go somewhere else first. I'll go. I'm gonna go with Dallas, Vegas. The stat I'm gonna go with. We're gonna boost up a guy that I've torn down in the past. Okay,
Okay.
because he's been unbelievable in the playoffs. This guy has more points than Heinz, Sagan, Pavelski, and Duchesne. Which that's Jake Ottinger.
Excuse me. Does he have one assist?
He has one
he
assist.
He has one assist.
He's got one assist,
He's got one
baby.
assist. He's got one apple. Okay.
Yeah.
He's got more than Ovi if you want to add that to the list too. Then.
There you go.
Wow.
Probably more shots on net.
Jake Andre for Hart.
Conn Smythe.
Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Conn Smythe.
The I don't. It's just like more that Dallas just needs some more scoring from their team. They were the 3rd highest scoring team in the entire league in the regular season, and then they're just getting shut down by an unbelievable team. It's hard to talk about this series without talking about like what a tough draw that is. That like to
That's
basically
your
be-
prize.
Yeah, like almost
Yes.
win the President's Trophy, and you have to play the Vegas Golden Knights that like get all these guys back and are just like a powerhouse. Like again, all the people they added to the deadline is so crazy because like people talk a lot about the hurdle thing, the stone thing, and all that, but like Noah Hannafin scoring in this game and that's a guy that like I was like looking at their team recently and like again the cap hit is like 1.2 million. It's like because of like 75% of it retained in other places. They are a ridiculous team. But with that said, I actually think Dallas has been like very much in all these games. They just need to put the puck in the net. Like it's Logan Thompson is now
First 2 playoff games, and he
yeah.
looks like the new Aiden Hill. Like,
Exactly.
what is going on?
He
Which
had
is
a
hilarious-
couple that were not so great that he looked like.
Yeah, that one goal was just
You want it back.
You
You
just like
want that one back.
not in close, wrist shot from a not dangerous area, and just kind of hits him and still goes in. But either
Life of
they're
a
not
goalie.
complaining, they're
No.
winning, and I just think you need more from a pretty powerhouse offense for if you're Dallas, because like realistically, the shots for Vegas have been incredibly low. Like they had 15 the first game, and then the last game I think they outshot Dallas, but there was like 25 shots or something. So the series in general is just not a super high event series, but you just need more from those guys. Those guys have all been so good this year, and you got to get some more.
That Vegas team really does feel like an EA NHL team. Like just like the amount of like
my
trades
God.
and moves
I
they
know.
made where you're like that's so video game like that you would have
Eichel.
any of these guys paired together.
And the worst part is you'd expect because of that, you'd be like, oh, yeah, but they had to give up their first
Sure.
round picks from
No.
2024 to 2029.
Yeah, exactly.
They did not.
Because I won't be
No.
playing the
No.
game for that long. so I don't need
Exactly.
them.
I'm out.
No.
I'm out.
No.
And I definitely don't care about the draft picks that aren't going to have names in 3 years. And like,
yeah.
Jack Eichel's been so good too. Like
Oh.
playoff Jack Eichel is gonna be the
Say it into the mic.
playoff Jack
There
Eichel
you
has
go,
been
from your
so
chest.
good. It's been unbelievable to watch him.
My stat here: Islanders. I gotta be honest. There's part of me that was really, really rooting for them, having chosen that series specifically, being like, I'll watch that one. I'll check it out. And there is part
wearing
of
a New York hat that kind of looks like it could be for your team.
this was intentional, where it's like, yeah, I get it. It's a Knicks hat, but it's in the Islanders colors, and it's a team that plays in the Rangers building. I'm representing the state of New York, I guess, in this playoffs for this. But either way, the Islanders, they had one shot on Freddie Anderson after taking a 3-goal lead. One shot. And I get it. I understand that you're on the road. You have 3 goals. You're against a team that's just going to dominate possession. They're going to get their shots, and they're going to have all these opportunities. So you got to kind of bunker up a bit. But you could see it immediately when they were just like, all right, this is our game plan. We honestly don't even care about attempts going the other way. And what's the first thing that usually happens when a team does that? Well, there's too much pressure. They get gassed in their own zone. They either start making mistakes that lead to goals, or they lead mistakes that get penalties.
Yep.
And that's exactly what ended up happening. And we're not NHL coaches. We'll never be one. Whatever. But that just feels like, come on. You got to know that's happening. And it does speak to the Canes. I'll let you go on his side. I get it. The Canes, they're great. They're an amazing team. But you can't just feed into that and let them keep getting that momentum.
No. Yeah, I couldn't, and it's one of those things that I feel like we'll never really fully know in sports, because I feel like this happens across every sport, where you look at the coach because you're like, is this a strategy thing? Are you telling them to just hunker down and that's what's changed the mentality, or is it just something?
He's not gonna say get no shots.
Exactly, that's what I mean, because there's nobody that's trying to give that instruction and go out there and there's no way Patrick Waugh was like, if I see you cross the red line, I once tried that and they gave me a penalty. Don't you dare do it, okay? Oh my God. But I mean, it was a horrible end of the game.
It felt like it was a power play for the Canes the rest of the way. And then the way they gave up the actual lead, that was so cruel.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, that's overkill. They didn't deserve that to happen to them. But that's also what you're at the mercy of when you let a team just have all of the momentum from that point. So it was just kind of crap to watch because they had it. They were about to smash and grab out of there, at least steal a game there, and they would have earned it because, 3 goals is not a joke.
Yeah.
At that point, they played really well. And then from that point on, they played to not do anything in that hockey game other than defend.
2 hilarious moments that I must point out at the end of the game. Matt Martin, at some point, it might have been for 30 seconds.
Where he grabbed the visor?
Gripping.
Yeah. I've never seen that.
I have never seen that. I'm like, that's not even a face wash.
Yeah.
He was just like it was a basketball. That was Michael Jordan where he's showing his wingspan. He's like,
He's holding it around. He's like, other guys are trying to come in and defend their teammate. And he's like, no.
It's crazy.
I'm holding it out here.
It's crazy. And then obviously the Gensel thing, which was not only was he, you should be happy because it's not the game winner, but it ices the game, and he was just celebrating that moment. It's, he's fresh to the team, fresh at home. But when he got confronted, I think it was by Brock Nelson, he still kept smiling. He's like, I don't care. He's like, you're mad about this? He's like, I'm not, and I won't be. So that was amazing.
It was another moment of empty net etiquette that we've has been a big topic this year. Because it's definitely it feels like he's doing it at them in some way.
A little bit, but
he scores and his immediate and then turns around in his face and, like you said, kind of gives it to him.
You're right. I read it as him just being happy about the scenario, but there certainly could be a little. It's the playoffs. I don't mind pissing you off.
Well, and you I have no doubt people were probably talking a little up 3-0. And then
you guys are the best team in the Metro. You're the second best team. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of go dye your hair, Matt Martin was like, you don't have a face.
Yeah.
I'm going to grip your face like a Spalding ball.
But then he kind of got taken out after, which
yes.
Wow. Just
I know. Yeah.
It was kind of like the game. And it was you're like, this
you
guy's got a real advantage. He's holding his visor.
Yeah.
And then it was flipped over.
It was the opposite of that, they had us in the first half. Or no, not the opposite, sorry. I guess if you're the Islanders, it was the opposite of they had us in the first
What's this guy talking about?
What is he yapping about? Can we get him out of here?
We need him for the next one.
This one's going to be quick. Florida Lightning, the number's 5. Carter Verhaeghe, 5 career overtime playoff goals. 3 off of Joe Sakic's record. He's only played 40 or something playoff games. It's nuts.
And how many has Joe Sakic played?
Over 100. Wow. It's crazy. And Tkachuk has 3 himself. And it's man. Do they have
the clutchest?
Is that Derek Jeter?
Carter Verhaeghe is Derek Jeter.
They need a 3-year-old child sitting in someone's lap to go.
Absolutely. I don't know I don't know how you get the good fortune of scoring 5 overtime goals, but the fact that they have
Whoa.
Good fortune?
You trying to say he just got these off of privilege?
Sorry,
He worked hard for these goals.
what's his parents' net worth? I gotta know.
I got it.
You're right. We got to check that before I say that. Yeah. No, it's crazy that record is like, and he could go the rest of his career without scoring another overtime
Whoa!
goal.
What's this guy trying to say?
But
This guy trying to jinx him?
the fact that he's 3 away this early in his career is crazy because I feel like 8 is a number that you've looked at for so long where it's like, he's not scoring, they're passing it to each other. One of them seems like they're just scoring every overtime.
You
goal.
asked how he had that? Well, when you're in important games that frequently and you're on a team that keeps being in those situations.
Absolutely.
Although I guess you don't always want to win in overtime.
I was going to say, you probably don't want to win in overtime.
We got to be on a team that's really good, but not too good.
Not too good.
You don't want to blow people out.
That record's kind of in reach, which is wild.
Yeah, well, he could get another 14 this year.
This year.
There are other opportunities.
There are endless opportunities.
What if they
for
just
him to get
won that
18
way
goals.
only? Yeah. All right, that brings us to Don't Think, Just Tweet.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, we have one more? Oh, yeah, sorry.
How dare
I'm
you.
not kidding. That was not a bit. I forgot about the Leafs and Bruins.
Yeah.
How could you?
Sometimes I wish I could, But
No, you don't.
my stat and
Sometimes I wish I could.
I love these guys. But so my stat, it's not going to be as whiny as it sounds, but
I like the
it sounds whiny. It's going to sound real whiny.
Brad Marchand.
This is
In 3 games,
brought to you by Wine Rack.
Brad Marchand has 0 penalty minutes.
Okay, that's actually nuts.
That is so nuts.
That's nuts.
He is like, and it's so impressive to me. And I genuinely, I look at his performance in the last game as like, that is a captain's performance. I don't know how you could sum it up better than that. And I know it's funny because like the one that people are really hung up on is the Bertuzzi one of like where he kind of like hacks at his feet. And then I'm funny now. I do think Bertuzzi like is doing a little bit of what Marchand did in game 2 there. Like it feels like a little bit of a dive, honestly. So like maybe because we've only really seen the one angle of it. So I do wonder if there's like a different angle that shows that a little differently. Because if you really watch it, I'm not saying Bertuzzi dove, but I think like if you're looking at that whole thing, they were like messing with each other. That goal can't go in anyways. This is a terrible goal on Samsonov. So as much as like people are so upset about that, it's just he's been so impressive. The shot to like the game-winning goal was
perfect.
What a shot.
One of the most perfect shots I've seen. Yeah, and it's like he has a second to just rip that, and he puts it in a spot that nobody's going to get to. And
just saying on that, we were pretty harsh on Lindgren. That was one of the ones that went into. He had one that was pretty similar.
Yeah.
It had great shot.
I'm more just for Lindgren. I was more just saying like obviously he was like such a stud for a while that you
no. I mean in general, because as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually the same as the Roslovic goal.
Yeah,
I really liked how Keefe described Marchand's game. Like he talked about the Bertuzzi thing, but he was like, it's an art. Like he's a lead at it.
Yeah,
you never really hear it described that way by an opposing coach, nonetheless.
Fair.
But like, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And it's such a playoff hockey thing too, where like I did a whole I think I did my final Leafs pregame this year on this, and it was basically like I went over the stats of like Marner, Matthews, and Tkachuk because it was when we kind of thought they were playing the Panthers. They were playing the Panthers in the last TSN game, and it was just like, why is Tkachuk considered like this great playoff player versus these two who aren't? The obvious answer would have been like, oh well, he just went to the Stanley Cup final. But then it was that. I was saying, I don't think I'd bet last year if you asked the same question, everybody's going to say Tkachuk, right? Yeah. Like that's just like his reputation for a long time, even when Calgary didn't have a ton of playoff success. But it was like points per game, hits, takeaways, and then there was like blocked shots. It was like all the kind of like typical gritty stats that you'd think of as like a playoff player. And like Tkachuk was third out of all 3 players in every single one, except I think he was second in hits, and then third in the rest. And then the one thing that he's like far and away the best at, and I know I'm talking about the Boston Bruins for this, but I just think Marchand and Tkachuk are very similar players. And last year led the playoffs in penalties drawn, and this season led the whole season in penalties drawn. Yeah. And Marchand is the king of that. And I think obviously he's like towards the tail end of his career, so maybe I don't know, like being a rat decline in the same like way that normal abilities
Probably
do?
not.
I
Like,
was gonna say he's up on the scoreboard in one area. It's rats in the square.
yeah,
There's two there for him.
Two there.
Yeah, one. I thought one rat looked a lot better than the other rat.
I think so, too.
But it was. I want to see the rats fight or something, or like they should have been like 9. Like I didn't hear enough like rat noises. You know.
The Ninja Turtle's gonna show up next.
Very good.
Exactly.
Um,
I think that is the end of our 8 shocking stats.
yes.
Or is there's more?
The only other thing I was gonna say was just like that.
Go Leafs, go.
Don't let him say that.
No,
we won't. We'll cut him.
I was gonna hype up Jeremy Swayman a bit, where like he's been unbelievable, and I don't even mean this because like I also think like it's not as if like they've needed him. I actually thought Boston was the better team in Game 3.
Sure.
But he still hasn't been unbelievable. One of the stats that I considered throwing in here is that if you go by like Money Puck's goals saved above expected, he has double any other goalie that has played so far.
Wow.
And it's not like you can say like, oh well, he's played 3 games and whatever,
Yeah,
2 because
two.
they had Allmark for 2. So it's like,
Do you keep shuffling the guys then in your case? Because I know they got critiqued for that last year because they didn't do that.
I don't know how you can. Like, and Game 2 wasn't Allmark's fault in any way. He was great in that game, made some really unreal saves, but Swayman just seems like he's that guy. Like, I feel watching him just kind of take command of both of their wins so far. And again, not to say that Allmark played bad.
I think you have to rotate him. You gotta do
Yeah.
it.
It's very clear.
Like,
we understand
I think
on
if
what
you're a
you
Bruins
hope
fan,
happens.
you've seen 2 games of Swayman, you're like, why the hell are we rotating these guys?
I agree.
I mean, like Allmark was good though.
No, he was, but I'm just like, Swayman has given you no reason to be like, why can't he be the guy?
Sorry, go ahead.
I like in an honest argument, I actually do think it still kind of makes sense to rotate, only because like Swayman confidence is through the roof. He's feeling good. If you keep doing this, it's not gonna like send some message to him that like he's not the number 1 guy or something. It's just like, so give Allmark another chance. You're up in the series. You've got home ice advantage back. Even if you lose next game, you still have home ice. So why not again get Allmark back in there, keep the same thing going, because then if a goalie ever has a stinker, then it's kind of like, okay, let's roll with the other one. But as long as you can keep both confidence up, you have 2 good goalies playing well.
To add what you're saying, it's just like there's a certain cadence that they'll be used to during the season, as you said, and it goes with the rest as well. Where it's like the freshness, which I get it, to playoffs, everyone's got to grind and battle and whatever, but it is a different position that's even more physically demanding in certain ways. It requires recovery, and if it's working for you during the regular season, both of them are great. So
Last
kind
thing
of weaponize it a little bit.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on that is that the Mitch Marner hate has gone way too far. Like everybody is so angry at this guy. No, even with the assist, like people are still mad. Like
your ears to the
People
streets.
said Jesse Pollock is better than Mitch Marner.
Which prompted him to tweet out his beer league stats and was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
I know he's just joking, but I know like people are.
It's been bad.
Shredding him. Like and
is his Twitter? I don't go on Twitter at all.
a lot of
so
Twitter.
I assume this is what you mean.
And like he makes he's made a couple frustrating plays, but I think it's one of those things where you get in a space where if a player starts frustrating, you start looking for stuff. And I actually thought like
you start making lists. You're like, well, what's a good number? I need 8 things. 8 things.
Yeah, exactly. How many?
8 things I hate about this guy.
Whoa.
7 things I hate about you.
Is that
Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, it's got. Oh, is that a song? I thought you were talking about the movie.
Oh, there is.
And I think it's 10.
Yeah, 10 things I hate about you with Heath Ledger.
That's
and
the
Julia
movie. But
Stiles.
then there's a Miley Cyrus song too.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
No. Don't think.
Confirmed.
Just tweet. There was a segue in there for that when I say I don't go on Twitter, but I forgot it. Now we're back on Twitter.
Nice.
And Luca, you're up first.
Alrighty.
The Capitals, the Stars, the Islanders, and the Lightning. They're all down to 0. Rank them in order of most likely to end in a sweep to least. So, in fact, at the end of your list, it's going to be like they could win the series.
Yeah.
Still.
Okay, it goes Caps, no shot.
Wow. Them first.
I'll go Islanders next. You know what? I kind of want to. No, I like the Islanders going home a little more than I do the Caps. So they'll lose 4-1, and then.
So you think no one's getting swept?
No, I think the Caps get swept.
Oh, sorry. You're sorry. I thought you were flipping this.
No, this list is like Caps are at the top of the sweep list. I could see the Islanders getting swept as well, so they're second. Then it goes Lightning third, Stars fourth. I think the Stars are going to make this a series.
Yeah.
I just want them to make this a series more so than anything because I just don't like Vegas. But I think like you said, they've played well through 2 games. I think it's a little unfortunate that they're going back to Vegas down 2-0. Although that said, like that could also just be a reason why they're most likely to get swept because winning in Vegas is not easy.
No.
And now they got to go play the next 2 there. So
I agree with the back half of your order. The front half, I feel like the Islanders like kind of missed an opportunity.
I think
With
they
that
did too,
both
but their
games.
fans are nuts, and I'm more into their fan
Hornets
base and
nest,
atmosphere
for sure.
than Washington.
For sure. I actually am excited to watch that game.
Yeah.
Versus game 1, it was like, all right. No, but it's been good. I was in it. As soon as the puck dropped, I was like, okay, all these series will be entertaining enough. And they battled.
Battled to make it entertaining.
Yes, they have. It has been fun to watch. Okay. How, Corwin, would you rate this year's officiating in the playoffs at 10? Let's try not to whinge too much. It's a tough job. I get it. And we'll never be that happy. And it's not the only reason that teams win and lose.
6 out of 10 this year.
That's not that exciting number. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Luca, there's been some brutal calls, though.
Oh,
but I mean, I don't know.
A lot of battles.
During the regular season, it happens a lot. But there's something about Madison Square Garden, by the way, whether it be basketball or hockey, the refs are just like, what? I missed all of it.
Well, so if I can explain it a bit, it's more just that, like, they're always kind of bad in the playoffs. That's why I went relative to other years, and I was like, it hasn't felt more egregious than other years. It's just kind of like, yeah, they're going to make some bad calls.
Yeah.
It's a hard job. But
You can hone in on moments for sure. Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
Leafs fans are going to be talking Bertuzzi and the Matthews-McAvoy takedown.
the Matthews-McAvoy one I thought was the most egregious out of
bad.
all of them. Like, funny enough, I thought on the, like, if I'm going to give one from each for that series, like I said, the Bertuzzi one, I was kind of like, I feel like maybe he kind of like got over that, even though we don't see a good angle of it. And then the other one, there was a flip angle of when Swayman and Domi collided too, that I think Swayman's diving in that too.
A little bit.
Like he kind of like, whatever, you run into people all the time in hockey. Like it just kind of like happens, and then they do it, and it like turned into this massive thing. But clearly it worked out for Boston. So
He talked about it post game. It was just like he joked with Emily Kaplan about like I need to do more push-ups or something like that. So
Swayman
like,
said
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't make anything of it either. So
It's on to you. Who, Luca, has had the worst luck so far in the playoffs? This could be a player. This could be a team. It could be snake bitten. It could just be an oddity.
oh my god, who's at the
Got him.
Who's at
Wow,
the worst
got him.
luck?
I don't. He seems like he's doing a lot of thinking.
I am
right
doing a
now.
lot of
A lot
thinking.
of thinking going on.
I
Why
am
is he
doing a
not
lot of
tweeting?
thinking.
Does this guy know anything about instructions?
I'm sorry.
Okay, Austin Matthews.
Instructions
I'll say it.
unclear.
He's hit a few posts, and I feel like he's probably even the shot yesterday that went like got a piece of Swayman's arm and then went just wide. Like he probably should have more than one goal in
Also
this series.
leads the league or leads the playoffs in shots, and only has one goal.
There you go.
I was gonna say the Canucks, where it's like you got a good team, in order.
You know what though? That game too was so bad for them as far as like we after we were done watching the Jets and Avs game 2, we turned on the Canucks. Third period, 13 minutes left. The shots are 13-12 for the Nashville Predators. I'm sorry, that's not unlucky. That's
So
just
real quick, if I could just clarify what I was trying to say. It wasn't that.
Oh.
The Demko thing.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Just mentioned it.
I
You're-
mean, okay,
you're going to a
that's fair.
series, like you're looking good, and you lose.
sorry. I thought you meant it was like
Tell me how you really feel about the Canucks. That's not unlucky. This team sucks.
not
And
saying
the
they
weird thing
suck.
is, it wasn't even like they were getting dominated.
No,
it was just like
it was
you
just
didn't
a bad
like that. It was
game.
like a low
13-12
event game.
on-
Just a
Unacceptable.
bad game.
Unacceptable.
a bad
That's
game.
one shot away from the other team. It's lopsided.
They've been really unlucky. Honestly, though, he is right, though. The Canucks have been really unlucky because they've kind of been stuck with this, like, 40-year-old tradition that they have to keep doing with this.
That is
towel.
pretty
I was about
unlucky.
to say.
It's just silent in the
This
arena
is the-
when they swing their towel.
This is the last one for you. We've all had some very bad takes in the past, but why was Corwin's towel take the absolute worst? I'll let him know. Because It's fun, Corwin. This whole thing that we do is around fun and the sports being fun and waving a goddamn towel around, yelling like your goddamn Petey Pablo. That shit's fun.
I know, but that's the weird thing about the take is I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm saying I find it more fun to not have a towel. Like, I'm not saying, like, please stop.
He is towelless.
Yeah, I don't know. I get you're allowed to like the towel and whatever. I'm just saying. I find it's weird. It's a little quieter sometimes. I'm not saying this to you. I'm saying this to like people think
I couldn't believe how much hate
very
it got.
upset.
They were
honestly,
very upset.
I think it's just because of your whole thing with the Canucks. I get it. You have a bad relationship.
we were on a good
with
spot
that,
at this point.
and
They
you
started-
messed it up.
I know.
And you're just like, hey guys, you know that thing you really love to do? I hate it.
And then they
I made a Michael Bublé video just
What's
for
going
that.
on? Why do they hate me?
They also hated the fact that we talked about. They were like,
Yeah, we did.
And so the 2 minutes you spent on the Canucks were spent on the towel and not their
Why they
game
hate me,
one
man?
win.
Why they hate me, man?
Which
We said two things: Dakota Joshua's a dog, and you're.
No, but that part I clipped out because I wasn't sure. If, like there's a
Sorry, there was more.
somebody
There was
misspoke
more.
on something, so I was like, oh, I'll clip that, but it kind of like took out a whole chunk of what we talked about the Canucks. So I get that you guys were a little misrepresented. We talked about you a lot on this one, at least. Luca thinks one shot less is just one of the worst performances.
No, it
he's
wasn't
ever
one
seen.
shot
He was
less.
irate when he entered the
It
room.
wasn't one shot less.
What's
it was
going
that
on?
your teams were both decided to combine for 25 shots before the game is 10 minutes away.
Come on. Hey, this is 8 stats, not 9. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, very specific number we
Man.
were supposed to hit.
Well, fellas, it was an honor to be back. It's a lot of fun. And
Sounds like you're going away by saying.
yeah, we're going.
But I won't ever be that.
I'm going to Bermuda. Thanks to this guy, in a good way. It was definitely the most random message I've ever received.
Wait,
what?
So I will be gone. Actually,
Where are you
for a little
going?
bit.
Next week, and they're going to Bermuda for
Oh
Sail
wait,
GP.
that's that's that. Okay, we can
Yeah.
take that. We can
Literally
take this
messaged me.
offline, but like
This
yeah.
is, he says, this is not a joke, and I need an answer immediately. Can you go to this sailing event in Bermuda? And I was like, this is a joke.
Have you watched any of it? It looks
Yeah,
crazy.
I've caught up. I'm caught up.
What do you have to do there? Just sail?
I don't understand it. It's hard to follow.
I can't swim.
Yeah. Wear a life jacket.
Don't fall in the triangle then, or you're done, buddy.